How you doing?
Good man, thanks. How are you?
Not so bad. Sorry for running just ever so slightly late. Mandatory cup of tea that must be had when doing all
That's
interviews.
all right. Got mandatory water. I've just got back from the gym, so it's a good job you can't smell through Zoom. I tell you that. It's like,
So you look like me
I
after my
think,
Krav Maga session last night.
yeah, I'm drenched, but it's all good. It's all good.
I'm loving you wearing the old
Sunny.
merch from your previous band as well.
Yeah, yeah, might as well. Yeah, that's what had hundreds of the fucking things, so I might as well make the most of it. They're all under my bed, and it's like everybody, okay, bring them out. It's like having some kind of posh wardrobe.
Always handy. And of course, if they get damaged, just
Definitely,
throw them out, put another one on.
exactly. That's the thing. You just get rid of them. It's like that. It's kind of it's throwaway t-shirts, but it's like it's good. But I've only got like about 10 left, which is good. So we'd had about 50 to start with, but
Grief, you're gonna have to start wearing some Amongst Liars merch next.
oh yeah, I don't know. It's a bit weird wearing your own merch. Not sure about that. So the, yeah, I mean, there are a few. I've got a small one. I got a logo, small logo one, but something with emblazoned across the front. It seems a bit kind of don't know. I've always been a bit off about that. This one's okay because obviously band's no longer. But I thought, well, should I? Should I not?
Yeah, I mean, splashing
But
your logo everywhere is really bad taste, isn't it? Yeah, definitely shouldn't do that.
that's good though. It's cool.
I actually wear a Metal Hammer t-shirt for a change, not rather one of our own.
Exactly. Nice.
Anyway, a little bit of a chat. So I presume you probably want to go and get a shower before you stick the place out.
That's
Um,
all right.
we'll start off with the what's coming up. You've got an album due in a couple of months.
Yeah, we do indeed. We got an album coming out on the 4th of July, so we're just ramping up for that. We've had a few singles come out from that already, and yeah, there's loads of stuff coming up. We've got another single in about just under a month, and then there's another single leading into that, and then the album. So it's all yeah, it's all looking great at the moment. We've got tons of stuff that's kind of happening, which is brilliant, and off the back of it as well, doing a few collaborations with some other artists as well, with songs as well. So we're kind of we're mixing up really, just throwing out as much as we can.
Yeah, it's been a bit of a journey for you guys. Your debut album 2022.
Yes, that's
So
right.
you're only looking at a couple of years after that one. You've had a couple of tours with Theory of a Dead Man, which is not a bad
Yes, we have.
spot to have. A couple of headline tours of your own as well. So I know probably a little bit early days in terms of the run up. We have a reason for chatting to, which I'm sure you're aware of. We'll get to that shortly.
Yes.
Um, but also, I want to give you a chance to plug the band.
Mm.
In terms of the run up towards the album release, have you got anything planned you can tell us about as yet?
Depends when this is going out. When do you know when this is going out?
Beginning of May.
Beginning. Okay, perfect. Okay, yeah. In that case, yeah, we were just literally about to announce. We've obviously we just come off tour in France with Aaron Jones, which was amazing. And we've been planning out the kind of the thing around the album, and we are going to be announcing this kind of coming Monday. So that we're going on a kind of headline tour across the UK for 8, 9 dates in July to support the album basically, and so we'll be going kind of all over the place for that, and we're also going to be doing some kind of surprise sort of fan acoustic shows as well. So we're going to be literally get three of us get in a car, spend 4 days, go across the UK, turn up in people's house, deliver the albums and stuff like that, and play some songs, have a bit of fun, drink a bit, probably drink a bit more, and go on. Yeah, it's a massive road trip, so that's gonna be real fun. And then obviously the tour that's going to come up, it's going to actually plug the album in July. That's probably, like I said, 10 dates, and we're doing some HMV in stores as well. So we're just hitting it, doing as much as we can basically in that kind of between mid-June and mid-July. We'll be out there solidly.
Obviously, fantastic. So really, really busy around about at that point in time. I mean, you've not exactly been ones to rest on your laurels anyway. I mean, as I said, in 2 years to have done two support tours and two headline tours is a lot of work. Anyway, and around that, you're obviously creating material for the albums. You're doing your videos and so forth as well. It's a lot of work, in particular, because I know you mentioned before on your social feeds and so forth. You've got long COVID.
I do, yes, yeah.
And you even picked up COVID on top of long COVID when you went to be
Yeah,
touring about a year or so ago, I think. Would that be about right?
that's right. Yeah, I mean, it's long COVIDs I've had for basically. I had sort of about maybe 2.5 years ago. I had this kind of, I was sat at home and just felt really rough, and I thought I was having like some kind of heart attack, and the hospital ambulance got called out and said, no, your vitals are fine. Have you had COVID? And I said, yeah, I have. And they said, oh, I reckon this is probably something to do with long COVID. I was like, okay. And I didn't really think about anything else about it. I got better from that. And then about 3 or 4 months after that, and this was kind of early 2022, it was about maybe 3 or 4 months before the album came out, I just couldn't breathe. And I was just lying in bed and gasping for air, like some kind of fish out of water. And and I went through all the tests, and they said your lung capacity seems to be fine. You've done all these things. Doctors didn't really have any answers, and they said basically you've got acute asthma. And I said, well, I'm a singer. I've never had asthma in my life. What? And they said, well, and they put me in touch with a support group for long COVID, and I went and did all the tests. And the good thing, I suppose, was that I did all these tests, and they cleared me for every major disease known to man. But then said, well, it must be long COVID, and you've got asthma. So I've been supported by inhalers ever since, basically. So it's just one of those things that you kind of I play gigs. I take some puffs of an inhaler before, and then if I feel kind of too lightheaded, I had to start with. I couldn't really play at all around it because I literally feel like I was going to pass out. Because obviously you just can't breathe and you can't gasp anything, and you try to explain it. Is that you try and do a yawn, for example, and I got halfway, and your lungs just don't fill. And so that kind of had that knock-on effect with everything, and so it's been lived with it for 2 years. But I'm kind of trying to get into fitness and stuff and try and do that a bit more. And you can kind of manage it, I suppose. And singing, I can now manage it, but it just I suppose comes to the norm, I suppose. But it's not much fun, but it's it's what it is.
So you gradually work around it. Again, it's human beings. We're adaptable. That's what we do.
Exactly. Yeah, you have to. I mean, there's no other way. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, moving on, or stepping back and roundabouts. The stance of the band, it has gotten you in your bump. You don't want to be classed as a political band, but like many acts these days, you write about what you know. You write about what you feel. That's where the best songs come from. They come from inside. So there's a lot of social political messages in there. One of the ones I really want to highlight, or an upshot of that, is the fact that you are actually ambassadors for the Music for Good organisation, and you do promote them an awful lot as well. It's a fantastic organisation. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, Metal for Good are great, and we got kind of involved with Katie around the sort of time our manager said, you're writing a lot about mental health, a lot about kind of advocacy for support and well-being and in the community, and we had a kind of few meetings with Katie, and it was we clicked with the message that they promote. I mean, Metal for Good, they promote it's all about raising money for great causes that support mental health, support sort of music-based charities, and give that kind of funding and kind of help them along the way to actually grow up and what they're doing. There's obviously it's really interesting kind of work that they're kind of doing. And we did when we toured with Theory, we did a sort of an auction of a guitar. We got Theory to sign it as well, and we raised some money there, and we made about, I think it's about 500 quid, and then we donated 10% of our merch sales to them as well. And it's great, and it's like it's kind of the stuff that they're doing is just, it's really wholesome, and it kind of means something. You see all these kind of people that are giving back into a community. They're helping projects that are encouraging autistic people to play music, for example. They're encouraging supporting the community, and they're funding really interesting kind of developments and projects to actually kind of make a difference, I suppose. And they're very much startup. I think they've been going for about 2-3 years, and so they're very much startup themselves. But they just spread a really good message, and it's all very positive. So like to do as much as we can for them.
Yeah, it's one of the things I was going to ask about. Music and mental health and so forth. I just want to name check another charity just while we're at it. It's an organisation called Noisy Brain, who got in touch with us a while back, and they actually bring musicians together to create music together as a means of therapy, for want of a better word.
Fantastic.
So there are plenty of charities out there that do that. But from your own experience, how do you feel that music can help mental health?
I think personally, I mean, I've talked about obviously long COVID. One of the sort of the downsides, and ones I always write about sort of mental health, because I've had sort of ins and outs and sort of highs and lows being a musician. Obviously, it's a struggle in itself, and it kind of affects your mental health in itself. But I'd never experienced anything until the long COVID side of mental health kind of kicked in. And there's one track on our album that's kind of coming out. That's our next single called Vice, and it was kind of written as one of the last songs on the album. And I suddenly, talking about obviously the long COVID, I was going through a kind of a pretty tough time anyway in my sort of life, with sort of various work situations and things not going the way I wanted to go. And obviously all of a sudden this massive sort of depression hit me, and I found it really, really hard. And I've never experienced anything like it in my life, literally. And it was this kind of, there was this feelings of paranoia that people were talking about me, and it was full blown kind of, what the hell is going on in my head? And it couldn't make any sense whatsoever. And I think the only way, the doctors tried to put me on antidepressants, and they made it even worse, because antidepressants take a month to work and then can make you feel like shit as well. And so I came off them because I thought, I don't don't want this. It's not going to help me at all. It's just making me worse. And I kind of escalated, and it got spiraled downwards more and more and more. But I found like the music side of things, I'm lucky, I suppose. I've got that outlet, and I kind of channeled my sort of feelings into doing something. This was just literally before we went on tour with Theory as well, and it's something that kind of really helped me. And I writing the songs, kind of you channel that kind of emotion, I suppose. And you listen to I got into listening to bands like Bring Me Horizon and some kind of sort of Shinedown stuff they write about, and they the way they talk about it, I suppose they deal with a way out, if you see what I mean. They talk about it, but then they don't say. I think I used to listen to loads of Linkin Park, and I found, I love Linkin Park, and I found Chester's lyrics, they were deeply down. And that kind of but that helps people, I suppose, in the sense. But I think Bring Me Horizon and Shinedown kind of do it in a way that they make you kind of think, okay, I'm going through this as well. There is a way out. This is the way of kind of dealing with it. And I think that's what I tried to kind of get across in the songs, and the way I'm talking about the music. And so I've experienced it. I know what it's like to hit that rock bottom and feel like there's absolutely nothing. But then there is, there's that hope, and there's that kind of channel out of it. And I'm lucky, like I said, because I can channel that through music. But even still, it's really hard when you're feeling really at the bottom to actually kind of get out of that. But I think music can kind of help in loads of different ways. And just from the support, I mean, it's a release, isn't it? I mean, I listen to really kind of heavy music when I feel just that kind of adrenaline kick, I suppose, and that kind of helps channel it as well. And watching people play and stuff like that, I suppose. But I think from my perspective, I think it's just really helped me kind of get out of that depth of brain fog and sort of disease that it brings. And I think a lot of the album we've got coming up is actually written sort of around the mental health side of things. And also, I suppose, put it in perspective, there's always someone, no matter how bad you are, there's always someone that's in a worse situation than you are. That's what I find as well. I mean, he won't mind me talking about this. Our bass player overcame stage 3 cancer the first time of our album came out, and I was hit with long COVID, and he was hit with stage 3 bowel cancer, and he had to go through radiotherapy, chemotherapy, and he got cured the day before we went on this big tour with Theory. He got his all clear, which was amazing. But then it puts life into perspective, I suppose, looking at what other people are going through and trying to help them come out of things and depths of whatever they're going in, because the mind can be a very dark place. But there's that message, I suppose. There is hope, and there's, I suppose, throwing yourself into talking about things and reaching out and getting that support, I think, is really important as well.
Yeah, I mean, much as over the last few years, there's been a very, very welcome approach now to talking about it. There's less of a social stigma. There's still a lot of ignorance. You still get people saying, snap out of it. You've had a bad day, just have a drink, you'll be fine. And that's not how depression works. That's how having a bad day works. That's how something bad happening to you, that happens. Depression is a medical condition. I think people need to be, there's still a need for awareness and getting a message out there. Like you referred to Linkin Park, and I think Linkin Park is one of those things which I think passed people by, because when they were massive, they were just songs. It wasn't, I think, until Chester took his own life that when you look at his lyrics and read them, you think, holy shit, this guy was writing what he had been through and what he was suffering from. And you can then see that no matter how, this is something that's, funnily enough, I saw a post on another band's Instagram recently that was a quote along the lines of, fame and fortune doesn't cure everything. You can be having the most wonderful life in the world from the outside, but it's what's inside is what's bothering you. And that was Chester, and obviously other musicians that we're very, very much aware of, and other friends and other family that we're aware of. With that one, I'm going to spin you around to the song Mind that you did the video for, off your first album. What was the inspiration for that one? Because it's got a great message, and of course the very important text at the end as well. But
yeah, definitely. Oh, actually, Mind wasn't on the first album. We just put it out as a single. It's going to be on the second album. That's okay. It's going to be. Everyone thinks it was, because it was released as a standalone single, but we didn't think it fit quite with the theme of the first album. So it's actually going to be on this new one. So we've had it remastered. But yeah, no. Again, that was kind of going through, and I had a friend that committed suicide probably 4 or 5 years ago, and it kind of. Yeah, that sort of hit me. And again, wanted to, and Leo was going in the band as well, and we kind of co-wrote the lyrics to that because he experienced sort of similar kind of mental health problems with just like a life situation, I suppose. And the song kind of mine just came out really quickly. I mean, I just wrote it, and then we got it together and recorded it. But the lyrics, I suppose, we kind of wanted to have something, again, was reflective. And the message of the song, I suppose, is, again, it's okay not to be okay. There are ways of kind of trying to help yourself, and there's ways of coping. We wanted to reflect that in the video as well. Is that this guy, you know, he seemingly has a great life. He's got a kid. He's got a wife. He lives in a nice house, but that's not enough. Mm-hmm. And it's really tough because you can. And he didn't. Let's get the message across that, guys, we don't necessarily talk. You know, we're not good at talking. And that is self-destructive for a lot of people, like my friend. He was always, you know, life of the party. He was always happy-go-lucky, good guy. And then one day, took his own life. You know, no one knew, and it was really tough. And kind of, I think the message of the song is just really kind of just, there is hope, and there is support. There's people out there that can kind of do something to help you if you talk, and you have to talk, because if you don't, then, you know, that's, you've got your own demons, but you need to obviously to work a way of fighting them and actually trying to get a way of helping yourself get out of this. And so that was mine in a nutshell. And we got a really good response to it. Actually, we had people that, you know, we wanted to put the message about people being triggered by the video because obviously it was depicting a suicide attempt. Spoiler alert if you haven't seen it, but it was just one of those things that is really important to me and to Leo and band and everyone in the band, you know, obviously, about getting that kind of that message across and getting a really strong narrative that would actually go with the song. So that's how it just came out as it was, and we developed this storyline, and we didn't want to be in it, we didn't want to be playing it, because we wanted it all to be about the story, about the journey that this guy was going on, and the way that he kind of eventually would get out of that by thinking about his, you know, his family and his wife. And it was, like I said, it was very similar to what happened to my friend. But obviously he didn't make it out. But so that was in a nutshell that's what mine's about, and I think that's one of the reasons we've got that on the new album, because the new album is very geared towards that, because it's going through the kind of the chronicles of the experiences I've had for the last 2 years since the first album, I suppose.
So just as a finisher, you mentioned a few things there, which again, obviously we'll repeat, and hopefully we'll hear from many other people like yourselves as we do more of these interviews. If there is somebody you know who is down, who's depressed, who's suicidal, who's having a bad time, what advice would you give them? What should they do?
They need to talk to someone. You've got, you know, there's a wealth of charities and organisations out there. You know, Samaritans being the obvious one. We've done a lot of stuff with Mind as well. Great organisation. Even if it's not them, it's talking to someone that's close. You know, don't be ashamed about the way you feel. I think there's a stigma about, like you said earlier on, it's just, there's this stigma about, oh, you're a person, you're a guy, you're a big, strong man, you shouldn't talk about your emotions, you know. And I think that's the problem that a lot of people have. And I think, so talk anonymously to someone, talk to friends, reach out, you know, have a chat. I'd say don't drink. Because that's a spiral down, and I know that from experience. You know, you feel bad, you have a drink, it leads to another one, and then you wake up and feel twice as bad, and then you go in that cycle again. And that to me is and listen to music. You know, you talked about Bad Day, and it's I think a song that kind of really helped me. I was listening to obviously a lot of Bring Me the Horizon. Avalanche is a good track to listen to, and then they did one called with Sigrid. It's quite poppy, but it's called Bad Life. The lyrics just like it's not a bad life, just a bad day. Just a bad day, not a bad life. Yeah. That resonates with me. I listen to that song every time and think, yeah, there is, you know, get inspiration from someone else going through something and writing about it and encouraging you. So I think music is a massive healer. And there's lots of stuff, and there's lots of support out there. There's lots of things, but don't be inward. I think I'd say just do as much as you can. I'm finding the gym really helpful. You know, I'm going to and listening to loud music, loud heavy music, and getting that blood pumping and trying to help me kind of get better. So I think that's a really key thing as well. And just talking. I think you've got to talk, you've got to open up, and you've got to share your experiences, because it's likely and odds on, if you go to a gig, for example, I guarantee that at least, probably, I'm just being generic, but I think over 50% of the people in that audience would have gone through something fairly similar, or will go through something similar in their lives. So you're not alone, but you just need to, I suppose, you need to meet people and make those connections and just talk to people.
And from the other point of view as well, look out for your friends.
Exactly, 100%. Yeah.
One of the points that was covered, I think, in Mind and the video for it, is a concept called masking, where people who are suffering don't look like it, and they are bubbling under the surface like a lava flow, but the top is just this crust, and there's nothing that gives you any indication there's anything wrong. And that is a very, very common thing for people to either be ashamed of what it is, or they don't want to bother other people, or they think there's something wrong with it. So sometimes it's not just the fact that the person who has a problem needs to talk. It's you need to make yourself available to talk as well. So I think it's very, very much, it's a conversation. It needs to have two sides.
Definitely, yeah.
Thank you so much for your time. Thank you for your insights. Thank you for your honesty.
Pleasure.
And best of luck with the album release, which we'll tell everybody about in a few weeks when this interview goes out.
Amazing. Thank you. No, thanks for having me. Like I said, I love talking about this, and it's great that you're doing something like this as well. It's really, because it's so important. It really is. Yeah, I'm glad to say that it's something which, as you've seen with like the Metal for Good organization, it is something which is very popular and very common throughout the rock and the metal scene as well. I mean, just to throw another one here, we've got the nice chaps at Heavy Metal Therapy as well. Cool. They're there to chat to people too. And it's lovely to see these things. Mind frequently have a tent availability at Bloodstock Festival, for instance, and seeing that the first aid staff, even at a lot of festivals and concerts, aren't just physical first aid trained, they're mental first aid trained as well now, is a fantastic thing to see. And I think it's great to emphasize that the music scene is a hugely beneficial thing. Definitely, and can help as well. Being something just to enjoy, it can help. And if we can help get that message out there, then that's just something we should be doing. I think everybody should be. 1000%. Totally agree.
Great. Ian, thank you so much. Go and get a shower. You stink.
I think so, yeah.
I can smell it from here. Thank you so much for your time. And we'll see you on the road early July, apparently.
Yeah, look forward to it. Yeah, absolute pleasure.
Take care, man. Thank you so much again. Cheers. Take care.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.